I don't think this movie is what Sir Mix-a-Lot was talking about. Anaconda is a 1997 action horror film from director Luis Llosa. The movie opens with a text crawl explaining a few things about anacondas, some of which are complete bullshit. However, it lets the audience know at some point we're going to see a snake puking. We cut to a boat in the Amazon where apparently an anaconda is using an air compressor to break in. These things are intelligent. Machete don't poach. He aims the gun here, but the bullet hits over here. He climbs to the top of the boat to get away. Hey, did you hear Stephanie Meyer's writing a new Twilight book where Edward and Bella are gender swapped? Oh, I guess you did. Over in Brazil, Terry Flores is reading about jungle tribes. Okay, now this is what he was talking about. She goes to the door to meet Professor Kale. He's leading a documentary crew through the jungle to try to find the lost tribe of the Shirishama. This is starting to remind me of another jungle movie. Besides these two, the crew's comprised of Warren Westridge, the narrator, Denise, the production manager, Gary, the audio guy, and, Ice Cube.
Yeah, well, today's a good day.
I think he paid the director to let him say that. Thankfully, this was years before Jenny from the Block, or I'm sure that would have been shoehorned in as well. Mateo's the boat driver, taking them down the river. Is it me, or does he look like the Burger King guy?
I love this place!
They travel down the river, through the rainforest, and record an intro for the documentary. In this edition of Punchable Faces, I present Owen Wilson.
I'm serious, I've got like one thing on my mind.
Well, it certainly wasn't. I should keep the mic out of the shot. A storm kicks up and somebody's boat's stuck. They pull over to let him jump on board and... wait. He jumps over, crashes into Gary, but somehow lands on his back? This is Saran, a bad guy so cartoonishly evil, they should have dressed him like this. Saran needs a lift to the next village. The next day, Saran's catching some fish for lunch. They tell Saran they're looking for the Shirishama tribe, and he tells them he knows where they are. Didn't he just cut up this fish? Later that night, I guess it's cold out tonight. Meanwhile, an anaconda wearing a jetpack manages to kill a jaguar. Okay, so its eye popped out. Yep, there it is. Okay, we got it. The next morning... I agree with Westridge. Turn that shit off. At a fork in the river, they find a giant snake totem of the Shirishama. Kale thinks Saran's bullshitting, so he tells them where to go. Saran is not too happy. Gary and Denise decide to go out and record some audio. Brilliant idea. Go out into the rainforest, unarmed, at night, wearing the thinnest of clothing. 900 different species of jungle monsters are currently salivating. For them, this is like having dinner delivered. Jeez, Saran even sleeps evil. Denise decides this is the perfect place to have sex. Something's chasing them, and Saran shoots it.
Wild boar.
Is pigs out there this big? The rope gets stuck in the boat's propeller, so Kale has to go down to cut it out. Kale tells them one of the many reasons I stay the hell out of the jungle.
A tiny little catfish swims up into your urethra, finds a nice warm spot, spreads its thorny little spines, refuses to budge.
Kale goes underwater, and Saran, I'm not sure what he's doing. Something happens to Kale, and they bring him back on board. Somehow, a giant poisonous wasp got into his breathing apparatus. I wonder how that happened. Kale's throat's closed, so they puncture a hole in his neck so he can breathe. Saran points them in the direction of the nearest hospital, but it's really further into snake territory. They get to a wall, and Saran prepares to blow it up.
Hey, is that real dynamite?
Wow, nothing gets past this guy. Kaboom! It's raining snakes. Shouldn't they have backed the barge up a little bit further? And there goes the fuel.
What about the fuel?
There's only one drum left.
The barrels just fell off the edge. Why don't you go and fish them out of the water? Or just leave them there, I guess. Ha ha ha! This is my boat now. They find the boat from the beginning of the movie. Saran and Mateo go to investigate.
I'm gonna get this on film.
What? Film?
I'm gonna get this on film.
Saran finds a locker full of...
Treasures.
Mateo falls over and a snake eats him. Saran shows them what was in the locker, and Danny delivers the line of the movie.
Anaconda skin. Is snakes out there this big?
Saran tells them the snake most likely ate Mateo. He tells them he's trying to capture one of these giant anaconda, because it's worth a lot of money. He convinces Gary to join him. Gary tries to talk everyone else into it, but they're not as easily convinced.
Do you know where you are?
Oh, they should have had him say you're in the Amazon, baby. Saran takes them all hostage, and he'll get them out of the jungle once he captures an anaconda. Saran catches a snake, but it gets loose. Denise gets knocked in and Gary saves her, but now he's snake food. And now, the best performance Owen Wilson's ever given. Terry's prettying herself up.
Would you fuck me?
She goes to try and seduce Saran. I think this is what she said after this movie premiered.
This film was supposed to be my big break.
Saran isn't fooled. Danny busts in and he stops him, but he wasn't expecting Westbridge. Instead of doing the smart thing and throwing him overboard, they tie him up. They make their way to a waterfall, which is pretty much a dead end. The boat's stuck, so they tie some lines to try to winch themselves out. Denise goes to kill Saran, but he kills her and cuts himself loose. Of course, the Anaconda shows up and eats Westridge. The snake almost gets Danny, but Terry shoots it. Saran tries to kill them, but Kale's up and shoots him with a tranquilizer. They finally figured out how to get off the rocks. All they need to do is reverse the film footage. They stop at a warehouse in the hopes of finding fuel, which they repeat a few times.
They might have some fuel for us. I hope they got some fuel, though.
Those drums. Could be fuel.
It just so happens Saran somehow knew they'd be going here, and he ties them up. He dumps monkey blood on them to attract the Anaconda. He traps the snake in a net, but it gets loose and goes after him. He'll probably be okay, right? Danny is constantly getting knocked over. Terry gets away and finds the Anaconda nest. Remember the regurgitating the victims thing from the text crawl? Even in death, Saran still manages to be creepy. Terry leads the snake up the smokestack, and Danny traps it. They light the fuel on fire to kill the anacondas. The building blows up, and now they're dealing with a flaming snake. It's dead. Oh wait, it's not dead. Danny hits it with an axe, so now it's dead. They get some fuel, and oh look, it's the Shirishama.
Saran was right.
Now don't you all feel stupid? With some of them injured, and the rest dead, they try to salvage the documentary, until the tribe eats them for killing their sacred anacondas. The movie was filmed on location in Brazil and on sets in Los Angeles for about $45 million. With movies like Sniper, Fire on the Amazon, and The Specialist, director Luis Loza was becoming well known for making B-movie scripts with fairly large budgets and turning a nice profit. Anaconda was a big hit back in '97. It spent 2 weeks in the #1 spot and went on to gross $136 million worldwide. Loza continued to produce, but for some reason didn't direct another film until 2005. While a lot of people would say that Jennifer Lopez was the star of the film, I would argue the movie had two different stars, Jon Voight and the Anacondas. Voight's villain Saran is one of the most memorable bad guys in movie history. He manages to skirt the line between completely detestable and oddly likable. Much to my surprise, both Siskel and Ebert loved the movie and agreed that Voight was a fantastic villain. Ebert gave it a particularly glowing 3.5 out of 4 stars. The Anacondas were awesome. I say Anacondas because some folks didn't pick up on the fact that there were multiple giant 40-foot snakes, even after Terry shoots one in the head. The snakes were a mixture of real, animatronic, and CGI. The practical ones still look good, and while some of the CGI is spotty, at other times it's incredibly solid. They even got Frank Welker to make all the anaconda noises. CGI was still coming along back then, and apparently it cost $100,000 for each second of animated anaconda. In the trailer for the film, they showed the scene where Gary was being pulled into the water, although it was early footage and the snake wasn't added in yet. The movie was such a hit it spawned 3 sequels and 1 crossover, Lake Placid versus Anaconda. I can't speak for the crossover because I haven't seen it yet, but none of the sequels were anywhere close to the quality of the original, although 3 did have David Hasselhoff. A lot of people disregard the film as flat out bad. While yes, there is plenty to goof on, Riff Tracks even did a Riff Tracks live on it last year, it is the farthest thing from anything bad. It's a solidly entertaining creature feature with a fairly large budget. Because of said budget, they were able to get a pretty robust and well-known cast, and didn't have to skimp on the effects. The movie never fails to entertain, and watching Jon Voight chew through his scenes makes every viewing worth it.
It's snakes out there this big.